Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is BMT coming at you again. But this time, I definitely wanted to go ahead and do this one because there's been a lot of things that's been going on, especially on out there in the Baltimore area, uh, and it definitely needs to be addressed and it needs to be looked at. And it was something that came across my stream of a lot of gun violence going on, a lot of gun violence going on out there in that the great straight. I mean, uh, the gate, the great city of Baltimore. And what's been happening is there's been a lot of gun violence, been a lot of murder, there's been a lot of killing, almost to the point of the National Guard is being called by the NAACP. I'm not going to be here too long. I'm actually, and I put up the homage of a picture from a series called Dragon Ball Z. And in that picture, you see a Martian or a surrogate person named Piccolo, and he takes on a young man under his wing because his father wasn't going to be there in his life. And in doing that and taking on the young man under his wing, he keeps him from going astray and helps him become a good man. Now, I understand a lot of people have a lot of nuances and feelings about doing this because they're like, hey, like, what this has to do with black men? What does this have to do with us at all? And I'm like, hey, man, now more than ever, we need accountable men. We need strong men. We need men that actually can stand up. It's sad that you're calling on the National Guard to hold accountability to that of your own community. And that's very telling about how bad it's getting out there in the city of Baltimore. And if y'all ever get a time, we need people who can actually take that of account and actually sit down and start holding people accountable when it comes to law enforcement, when it comes to political, when it comes to educational, when it comes to a lot of things. We have a lot of issues going on. We have a lot of issues going on. And people, you know, I only expect so much of the women, and that's no sneak diss, but I don't expect much for the women to start standing up and challenging the bullies. They can, but I would also look more towards the men and ask the men that, hey, it's now, I think it's going to be up to you to, how bad do you want to actually take back and actually rise up and check these type of situations and bullies. And when it comes to that, I remembered a good friend of mine, a battle buddy, um, Charles Faulkner, and I know he's not he's rough around the edges. He's rough around the edges, but sometimes you don't need a hero. You need the mercenary for the job. You need the person. And when I say that, it's because you know Piccolo was not and did not start off as a hero. He wasn't. He was just the guy for the job to actually tell and train Gohan to be the man he needed to be. And so it's incumbent upon a lot of men, and I know a lot of men, they're like, listen, those aren't my kids, that's not my problem, that's not my situation. True, fair enough. But at this point, man, there won't be nothing left. And I can't push y'all. I can't force y'all to want to do this. Okay? Hear me when I say that. I can't for like it has to be something like how badly do y'all want to fix your issues in your city. And I can appreciate that of when I read the Faulkner Initiative. It was something that I was seeing at the time being spoken about by that of Charles Faulkner and Cerulean Gray. And there are two military men that, hey, what's going on? What's going on, Mel? What's going on, Malika? That literally they wanted the best for young men. And see, we got to understand. I know a lot of people are saying, "What about the women? What about the women?" And I'm not taking away from that. I want you to understand that BMT is not taking away from the women. But right now, my focus is that of the men, the young men. You can't ask for, well, what about the what? I can't. You can't properly ask for a safe and healthy environment where you can help build young women and men if it's not being done properly and righteously. And so we're here where you have it whereas to um these young men are not properly being reared and trained. And this is something that would be done by the monks. That would, if a woman said, hey, like, there's only so much I can do for my son, let me take him over to the monks. Let him train him at the temple. There's only so much I can do. And y'all, some of y'all don't like hearing this message, but if the young men to stand a chance, we got to get them to able-bodied men that want to properly teach and raise these young men that can properly actually start building, can start rearing. Y'all may not like hearing that, but it's actually God honest truth. Like, we need to actually start having the logical conversation. That's why I don't have a problem with the Faulkner Initiative. What's going on, Liza? I don't have a problem with young men learning from strong foundational men about how to properly, um, hunt, cook, read, write. I don't have a problem with that. I think that's a good thing. We speak, you know, I think we speak about that. We speak about that and say, oh, well, the mothers, they're the ones that only. I say, okay, so y'all been doing that long enough. Maybe we need to start allowing these men to actually go back to raising and rearing them. You got to have some faith and trust in these men. You got to have some faith and trust in. Do you not trust you say trust the woman, but when are you going to trust the men? When are you going to trust these men? The Faulkner Initiative that I've read, it is a good, solid form to raising and cultivating healthy, healthy young men into building and constructing a very desirable community. The problem is, the problem is we have a whereas to certain people do not want to see our young men literally be successful. Certain people do not want to see our young men be successful. Certain people do not want to see our young men actually work hard, build, actually start to construct. So y'all act and say, well, the women are leading, the women are doing this, women are doing that. Like, that's cool and all, but that's flawed thinking, man, on the highest level. That's flawed thinking. I can never understand why anybody takes pleasure in their men being dumb, unable, and unproperly equipped. But then you want to brag off about other men. And I know y'all saying that's trolling. I know y'all saying, well, I don't see the problem. They don't want better. Why do y'all keep saying that don't want better? That they don't want a healthy lifestyle? Like, who keeps telling y'all that? So what are y'all telling y'all? What are y'all telling y'all men? What are y'all telling y'all sons? And I'm not talking about this YouTube stuff, because a lot of y'all be running with this YouTube stuff too far, man. Like right now, a lot of our areas are badly hurting. I don't live in Baltimore. I don't. I've driven through it a few times. You know, I have a few people out there that I do know, but I don't live in there. And I mean, I'm supposed to go out there for BlurCon. But I'm saying this. We'll trust in any and everything else, but we don't have faith in our own men. We don't have faith in our own men to actually teach and rear our boys and actually be good men, strong, hardworking men. They can, and they will be if you allow them, if you put the proper tools in their hand. And yes, men are flawed. Men will make mistakes. It's okay. Hang on, let me drop the link for Charles. But however, it's all right. Allow them to go out there. You know, times when I learned how to fish, I would hook myself, even though I hate fishing. But I'm glad, I'm glad there was a man or two and my granddaddy and my dad that took me fishing. Even though I hooked myself, I still learned how to fish. Even though I cut myself up or hurt myself when I was weed whacking, I still learned how to weed whack. I got a lot of scrapes and bruises and busted lips. I've been chastised and I got whoopings plenty of times, but I still found my way. And it wasn't an easy route. And Lord knows I had a lot of men that had to lay hands on me, not in like physically, but had to doggone guide me. And so y'all gotta understand, man, like it is not an easy job raising a boy. It is a group effort. And y'all worried about, oh man, the community's so dangerous, the community's so bad. No, and that's fair, Reg. You can always come up too, bro. Shout out to Reg, the bad guy, bro. Shout out to Reg, the bad guy. I want to sit down with you brothers and have this conversation. Like the way it's going right now, listen, I know y'all have y'all ill will, but we gotta probably hit the Faulkner initiative button, man. Even if we just put in 10, 20, 30 boys, you know what I'm saying? We can still try. We just put in a few young men. Maybe it could be football. Maybe it could be basketball. Maybe it could be after school. It don't have to be like some Navy SEAL Delta Force squad. But if we can just show that we can help, and I mean, it don't have to be like Charles. I ask you, if you could just say, "Hey, man, what? Listen, if I could just get some money just to take these boys out to go fishing, let me rent a van to take them out fishing, and just talk with them. Me and a few guys, we just sit there and talk with them. Maybe I can help a few guys get some jobs. Maybe I can explain to some guys who are trying to figure out, how to get their life like some young. Not and listen, I'm not always talking about hey the guys who already done messed up. Listen, they on a whole different. But we actually talking about young men who are trying to figure things out. We have it, man. And this is not about no left wing, right wing, conservative, Republican, Democrat. This is about right now. We as black young men and older men, we have an issue right now, man. And more bodies are going to be dropping. More grades are going to drop. More more mental, social health issues are going to drop, and they're going to be coming out. And we're not even into the spring. We're not even good into the year. Now, if y'all women want to talk about the girls, that's on y'all. Y'all got that fight. I don't know what kind of battle plan y'all fixing. But right now, I'm willing to try, man. Try something. Because right now, what's happening ain't working. Right now, what we got going on is it's not going to work. We got a lot of dead youngins. How many more dead bodies do we need? And we can keep on saying, well, it's the men. Okay. So if you want to say it's the men, cool. If you want to say that, fine. But then what? You can tell me it's the men, fine. You won. What now? The women are jacked up. Okay, cool. Now what? But here we are right now. I'm not looking for who did what did this. I'm looking at, okay, now we're below ground zero. There is no clean hands. Ain't nobody don't got no blood on their hands. And at this point, we don't need a hero, we need a mercenary. And it is not going to just be one city. It's going to be more cities. It's going to be more areas. It's going to be more locations that are going to be affected. I know a lot of y'all saying fuck the kids. That's on you. But keep that same energy when you're out there going to your car at night, when you're getting gas, when you're doing something, and they pull out with a gat and they say, "Remember me, mother effer." See, there's a true proverb. There's a realistic proverb. When somebody feels like their community, they'll hung them out to dry. You know what they start doing? They start looking for ways to make it burn. So that way okay, so you want to ignore me? And I know y'all don't like that logic, but that is true. Y'all don't want to hear that? Tough. But y'all see these shootings. Y'all see these killings. Y'all see these women and men doing things. They are not going to go unheard. And y'all saying, well, we got to get rid of the guns. That ain't going to stop them from doing what they do. Take away the gun, get a knife. Take away the knife, get gasoline. Take away gasoline, oh, they're going to find some way to get your attention. Whether you like it or not, these people are not going to go out quietly. They're not. See, that was the thing about it that we had a bad habit of in school. We would take the child that we deemed that was stupid or dumb or just not enough or not articulate enough for the group imagery, and we put them aside. And you know what that kid started doing? Getting real, really, really, really violent and dark. They started doing things. They started becoming sexual. They started becoming battered. They started doing a lot of violent things. After a while, we're like, dang, how did it get this bad? We knew it was getting bad. We chose not to look at it when it was already getting there. And see, that's a bad habit that we have. We like to wait until it's too late. And then we want to say, well, what are y'all going to do now? Well, what do you mean, what are we going to do now? Why ask what are we going to do now when we can do something? Hey, man, okay, we're here. Okay, so we got this going on right now. It's here. I don't like a lot of behaviors of the women, and I don't like a lot of behaviors of the men. I'm not going to mince words and sugarcoat it. I don't like these dangerous behaviors. I don't like the way how they abuse children. I don't like how they abuse each other. I don't like none of it. You got a lot of sexually deviant women and men. That can't be told nothing. So here we are now. And I don't know what it's going to take anymore. Like I said, man, y'all going. I know y'all gonna say, and honestly, I could care less if y'all say, "Oh, BMT, you on that communitas?" No, man, I'm on that humanitarian shit, man. At the end of the day, I don't know about you, but I don't want my home to burn down. I don't know about you, but I'm not some dark, unreal. What's going on, brother Charles? What's going on, Commander of the Black Lion?
Woo!
What's going on, Red? What's going on, Red Pill? Woo!
Woo! What's going on, man?
What's going on? I got to give you your proper salute,
Up,
bro.
You know, commando on deck, baby. Commando on deck.
What's going on?
it,
What's going on?
it's funny because if you want to be the man, that means you got to take control. That means you got to take responsibility if you want the power. It goes hand in hand. You see what happened with black women when they get the power but don't take accountability, responsibility, or have the conviction or the knowing that the totality of the community or the society isn't within your control. And you're responsible for all the things that go wrong and right. And for the last several decades, there wasn't much that went right. And like I said it before, we could talk about the women, but it doesn't alleviate you from being a man. And see, that's the problem. You got some people out here who are men who want to forsake that. Well, the women get to do that. Well, look what it cost us. Look at eventually. Yes, we're going to talk about the women because that's what straight men do. But straight men also, form up like Voltron to do great things.
Mm-hmm.
And till we get that notion and that thought process in our brain, we're going to still suffer losses amount to losses.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, look, when Cerulean and myself came out with the Great Faulkner Initiative, everybody had something to say about it. Oh, why we got to join the military? Why we got to join the police department? Why we got to do? But you're the same Negroes that complain about being accosted. For those who actually do, but of course, because one thing I know about black people, we like the sympathetic attention. Like, yeah, I was accosted too, even though you never even been around the police. But yet, I think that some people just need to answer the question. They just want white people to just be a little bit nicer to them. That's all. They don't want to rule. They don't want to see their destiny.
Now,
they just want white people to rule them a little bit better and a little nicer. They
now,
can't
Charles,
stand a black man in power.
now let me ask you this, Charles. Could you break down really quickly? Could you break down what is the Faulkner Initiative?
The Gray Faulkner Initiative
Yes.
is an initiative started by myself and, well, the Professor Cerulean Gray and Officer Charles Faulkner. We actually came together from after a BGS Coliseum and brainstormed, where the professor took a lot of the Neely Fuller aspects, where we eliminated religion, sex, and entertainment. When we can focus on, and see, a lot of people don't notice about the Gray Faulkner Initiative, it also talks about the roles that Black women should take as well. Like, why don't Black women actually take over the teaching profession, especially in our Black schools? Like, the men should be into law enforcement and law, and you should have some of those degrees become lawyers, since the women are always trying to get the degrees. You should have, you should take over your own, you should take over your own media. And it's like basically telling, even though it's mainly for the boys, but the girls can follow it as well. It's a step-by-step guide, and everybody's welcome to add on to it if they wish. You know, give a fair critique and not just a complaint. Where it's a step-by-step guide to masculine principles, such as getting your boys into masculine dominant fields, such as the military. What's wrong with our boys going to the military for 2 to 4 years when they get out of high school? Everybody wants you to go this way, that way, but nobody ever tells you how you're going to pay for college. Then on top of that, a boy should seek the life of adventure and become more worldly. Why not have a fund where you put money up for kids, where they have to give you at least 5 of their years serving either the military, fire department, or the police department? If they stay longer, even more interest accrues. We also talk about finance and how we don't even have insurance policies. We don't even have enough money to give to the next generation, because one of the greatest builders of wealth is what? Inheritance.
Mm-hmm.
We look at things such as black health, and how Black women want to be so much like men, they're starting to lessen their life expectancy and die of diseases that men normally did. But it's a step-to-step guide back to masculine principles and teaching your boys and bringing your boys to the forefront. But hey, you ain't got to take my word for it.
And how long have you been doing your initiative?
Jesus Christ, it's got to be like 4 or 5 years now. Between Cerulean and myself, 4 or 5 years.
Any questions you want to ask, Redfield? Go ahead, man.
All right, man. So like you do this on you do it on the internet, like on your YouTube channel, or like do you like are you like on the ground with it? Like how are you going about your initiative?
Oh, we're talking about it on my YouTube channel, and I've been doing it for years, even before Cerulean and I came up with a name for it. Imagine if you could take every police officers on their days off and have them coaching teams, mentoring young boys, keeping them out of the trouble of the criminal justice system, schooling them about the criminal justice system. And you know what's funny? Because we live in such a gynocentric culture, the one thing I always learned is that mothers never teach their sons about a woman's nature. They always teach them to be nice to women. Not to beware of women, but just to be nice to. They'll teach their daughters how to use a man. But it's one of those things where imagine if you had an older guy teaching you not just about wrestling, but just about life. So I've been doing this for years. I've been coaching and mentoring for over 20 years. I've
and
told a lot of
like say like when you first started, right? How have you seen like the kids that you been mentoring? How have you seen them develop over the past couple of months? How have you seen them develop?
the past couple of years. Hell, I
Now,
mean,
like the first like when you first started out, like where are those kids right now?
a lot of those kids back in what 2001 are parents themselves, some of them, and they're very functional members of society. Even with the wrestling program alone, my head coach told us that we have a 97 percentile rate of helping young men graduate high school and becoming productive, and not just in the productivity of work, but also in parenting. And a few of them, hell, a few of them got married. Of course, you're going to have a little bit rough edges on the first couple of months. Think about it. How many black men are used to masculine authority when they first come out, when they in high school? Not too many, are there?
Yeah, not at all.
But after they, want to get rough and tumble and they get thrown around the room a couple of times, for some reason they listen very well after that. I mean, every time I've gotten plenty of kids for the 20 plus years of coaching and competing during that time too. Some of them, it's like I've always gotten the kids who they said, "Oh, they got anger issues." I said, "I know what the cure to that is." "Oh, I'm mad." "Okay, what you mad about?" "Okay, I want to fight." "Okay, let's fight." So I'm throwing you around the room. Okay, now I'm landing on you. Now I got you in an arm lock with my weight on top of your rib cage. You ready to talk or are you ready for more pain? And sometimes, guess what? They come back a lot of times. Really, they come back and thank me because somebody had to set them straight before their anger got the better of them out there in the street.
Right.
It's the reason why, like, if I was president or king of black people, as much as I love my Ravens playing, I would get rid of ball sports for like 10 years. And the only sports you compete at are combat sports. If you look at studies, a lot of your boys who go into combat sports are usually the most even killed and good natured and the best natured people you'll ever see. But what happens when you're in a school system that's not made for you? It's made for women, where the schools give you gloves and say, "Hey, here's some headgear, here's a mouthpiece, go fight. You got 3 minutes, get out your system." You wonder why we got such violence in our communities is because they're trying to settle our issues like women. It does not work for us. Men have a communication of three things: talk it out, yell it out, fight it out, and then guess what? 9 times out of 10, you're probably going to end up being best of friends with that person. But what happens is when you do not address something immediately, you let things fester.
Right.
And when you let it fester, guess what happens? That guy who's scared to stand on his own 2 feet is going to go home and grab a gun. And because he was never taught to respect a gun by a man, he's going to do some very heinous shit. And trust me, the Gray Faulkner initiative is not one of those initiatives where it's soft knee and gumshoe. There's a lot, and my personal, and I hate to use the word belief, but in my knowledge and experience, most black boys do better in a very paramilitary curriculum.
What
You
you
get what I'm
mean
saying?
by that? Like,
In other words, you reward what's great and you correct what's not so great. Meaning, guess what? You might have to do push-ups for a very long time. You might have to go running for a very long time.
I, w- the thing about it was this, and this is why when I started off, I told y'all, listen, man, I, my rearing coming up as a man was not easy. Was not easy. I got plenty of whoopings.
Just to get
Okay? I got plenty of chastisement.
just to get to it.
And I could say, oh man, like, you
Just
know
for the
what?
damn same way.
Maybe if my dad or maybe if some of the guys were easy on me. But now when I look at it now and I look at how men are, and I would say, you know what, y'all need to suck it up, y'all need to drive on. But then I'm like, now I'm not even I'm not I'm not tooting the horn, but a lot of us are drastically just built different now.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I hear men saying that they want to be in control or in leadership, I'm like, you're just not built for that. You're not built to take a punch. You're not, in in boxing, right? They they usually they usually they punch you. They said, listen, I'm going to punch you in your face. Now the thing about it, you would say, why would you allow a man to punch you? On wrestling, they want you to know what it's like to be slammed.
The
And
first
some
day you're gonna get this.
and some people will say, well, why would you let them do that to you? Because you need to know and you need to understand what it's like. So that way you would have an appreciation and an awareness and a humility. Black men, I'm telling you right now, like it's not a crime to want to serve and protect that of what you love. It's actually an honorable thing. That's why I say,
Very
man,
much
like
so.
I'm not looking, and I'm respectfully, I'm not looking for the women to save the community. They cannot do that. They can't. And I know you're gonna hear some people say, "Oh, well, they vote this and that." Listen, we now understand that don't mean shit. It's now gonna be up to the men. And I mean, I know it sounds pretty drastic, but they're gonna have to crack some heads and bust some lips. It's gonna be some blood being drawn. And I know in a perfect world, y'all want it to be where why can't we talk about it? Why can't we hopefully you're depending on another man's agency to fix your agency as a man. How can you ask for the same respect? How can you? And I'm being very, very courteous and very balanced about this. The women are going to act and conduct themselves the way they are because guess what? They're not under your authority. And if those who do not want to be or work or cooperate with you, they're not your job to protect. And people are going to say that's pretty fucked up. I'm being very serious. I work with those who work with me, and I don't break from my contract.
Yeah, that's
What's going
definitely true, man. At this point, I'm only trying to work with like the progressive blacks. You know what I'm saying? Like whoever on that tip trying to get to it and build. That's where we at, man. And it's definitely not for to come from the women, man. Everybody, I know we had our disagreements with like Kevin Sanders and all that. You know what I'm saying? And it's like it's to the point where like it's just blatantly clear now, man. Like it's gonna take a group of men who actually have a vision to actually turn this ship around.
Let me tell you this shit. Let me tell you this right now, and this is something and I'm gonna tell you this in front of Charles. Do y'all think me and Charles always agree? And Charles is literally my battle brother. We don't always agree. We might even have times where we might even go on the mat and slam and bust each other up. But that is the beauty of men having a code. We don't always have to fucking agree, but we have to have a standard of rules and ethics that we hold together by blood and code. And y'all think, well, BMT, you sounding weird. No, I'm speaking straight from the soul. This is why this is important. This is why this is very important. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, y'all think, like, there's been plenty of times I have disagreed with different men that I respect, but that doesn't mean that I hate them. I can agree and disagree and still move on. And still, we can still get the job done. There's plenty of time where me and Charles have had missions. You think we agreed before the mission? But guess what? The minute we get in that truck and crank that bad boy up, fuck your feelings. The job has to get
You're,
done.
exactly, especially when your life's in that man's hands and his life is in yours. See, a lot of times this is the reason why Cerulean and myself harked on paramilitary, you know, education. You just realize that because you got to rely on teamwork. Teamwork is so essential to masculinity and manhood.
And this is the thing about it where do y'all think, see, when people talk about the good old days back in the day, do y'all really believe those men holistically got along 100%? No, no, they didn't. They had issues. They had problems. I think my dad told me a few times he had to bust a few heads, and a few times he got busted up. However, they understood that there was a commonality of a goal and a standard that they had to walk on. And so long as we understand that truth, we'll be just fine. Listen, I, I'm not that type of guy that's for the pen. I'm more so of the sword. But I understand the pen has its place. I understand the pen had its place, and it has its place. But right now, we understand right now that we're needing more so of men that are willing to actually stand up. That's the reason why I put out that picture of Piccolo and Gohan. When Piccolo first got Gohan, he didn't like that little motherfucker. He didn't. If y'all ever look a little bit at that anime Dragon Ball
Oh yeah,
Z,
man.
Piccolo did not like like I said, like Piccolo did not like Gohan, but he saw something in the kid. And as he started to grow and train the kid, guess what? It made him a better man. It made him more of a sharper and attitude tutor to where he even started teaching others around him. And guess what he became? He became a leader. He became a valuable asset. And guess what? Gohan came back to Piccolo. He didn't. He went back to Piccolo. He said, "No, I want to go back to my teacher." That's why he was comfortable wearing Gohan's uniform. I mean, Piccolo's uniform. That's why he was comfortable using Piccolo's philosophies. When it came to his family, guess who he called on to lead his to talk with his family? Piccolo. And a lot of black boys in that era grew up watching that of a Piccolo and a Gohan relationship.
Yeah, that's so true, man. So, what would you consider a good role model? Like, what aspect of a role model would you consider to be like a great value?
Someone who sticks to their word. One of the main key aspects, red pill, is a man's word. See, people will respect you when you say something and you stand by your word of what you say, whether it's good or bad, whether no matter the scenario, you're a man of your word, and that shows great character in you. It shows a great value of responsibility. I say what I say and I mean what I say. That's why they say all a man has is his word. And his word is his bond. And when a man makes an agreement amongst another man and he stands by it, then that shows his character. If I say something to my son, my word holds true. That even if somebody said, well, you're an adult, you don't have to follow through it. No, but I gave my son my word. So he's gonna look for me to do that. And because I stood by that, just like if you told me, Mr. BMT, I'm gonna be here at this such and such time, I'm looking to you as your word. Now, if you break that word, our relationship is going to start to differentiate and change. See, that's why it's called a code of conduct. Before men had to start making contracts, all we had was our word as men. Before men had to start doing all these marital agreements, we would tell the woman, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this. So long as you honor and you follow me, this is what I'm going to do for you. And you would make that solemn promise between her father and yourself, and you would tell that to the woman, and guess what? That's what you did. And that's what made you a good man, an honorable man. So if you find a man, and I'm pretty sure you probably know a few, that literally, if they say something, you can trust in their word. If you can trust in a man, if a man says, hey, I'm gonna pay you back, and you know when he says that he's gonna pay you back, that's a good man. That's a good man to follow. That's a good man to talk with. Versus a man who's a bullshitter. So we have a lot of men who are trained and very astute in being bullshitters. Can't trust them, can you?
Not
You
at
want
all, man.
you want to give them a shot, but you can't. Versus you might have a brother, you have a man like Charles say, hey man, I'm gonna be here. You show up here, I can promise you I'm gonna get you in. I can promise you I got a job for you. Now you're gonna respect that man. Hell, you'll probably even go as far as to tell other men about this man, so that way they'll guess what they'll do. Come to that same man. Because his word holds true. That's why they say in the Bible, in the beginning was the word, and the word was him. That's why I'm saying, man, like that's why I said a man is only as good as his word. So if you say something and you don't mean it, this is why a lot of people don't like men in politics. Hell alone, let alone we don't trust a lot of these women in politics. But a lot of them, we don't like these men in politics because they're liars, deceivers. So I can understand why a lot of men do not care for a lot of men that come out to vote or come out to say anything about politics to men because they don't keep their word. I can trust a man that stays true to his word. If you say it and you stand by it, I trust that. If you ever notice that when you talk to a woman and you stand by your word and she sees that, what does she keep doing? She keeps coming back to you, don't she?
Yes, you do.
Because she can trust in you and what you say. She's like, damn, I know, hey, when Red say something, that he ain't joking. When Red say something, he gonna do it. She gonna keep dealing with you. She gonna keep talking to you. So that, like I said, I've been doing this for a while. That's why I said we need strong backbone men, not men that can just speak with silver tongues, not men that can just lead other men and young men astray, but men that when they say something, their word holds truth and value. And see, one thing I can tell you a lot about some of the older men, they didn't care about your feelings. What they said, that's exactly what they meant. We got too doggone emotional, too jellyback. Some of the men want to be equal to that of the women. That's a flare. That's a failed concept. You want to be like the women? Go sit down and pee. Go bleed out your butthole. But don't ask to sit and eat amongst the men when we go out there to hunt. This is why I said Baltimore, the city of Baltimore needs to learn how to trust back in If it's instead of the NWC, those weak jellyback liars and devils say call the National Guard, why not just actually trust in the black men to actually allow them to do their job again? I would trust them to at least take 20 men, 20 young men, and put them on the Charles and say, hey, let me teach y'all. And it's gonna be a crash course, but I can promise you I'll get you all right.
And what you think that'll end up better than them just calling the police?
Yeah, yeah. I'm in Charles right here. Let me. I'm in Charles. And Charles is an officer. Do you know how many officers would rather than having to lock that boy up, would rather give him to his father? That was for one, save them on the paperwork. Two, if they know that their father is actually a firm hand man. Hold on, go ahead and mute up. They would actually hang on. Is that me? Hold on, Red Pill, mute up. Oh, let me just mute you real quick. So if they know that the father is a firm hand man, and I remember I got in trouble one time. I got in trouble one time with law enforcement, and they were like, "We're gonna take you down there to the station." My daddy showed up. He walked up to the officer. They stepped over to the side. The officer said, "This your boy?" He said, "Yes, sir." And my father said, "Listen, I will take care of it." The officer said, "You know what? You could take him." And that officer sent me over to him. Let me tell you this right now. I would rather have gotten in that goddamn paddy wagon in that back seat with that cop and go downtown to the sheriff office than got in that truck with my daddy. Boy, I feared that. I almost wanted to pee my pants and boo boo my drawers. But I knew I was in for it. I see. That's the thing. But that's the thing. See, that's the thing about it. Some of y'all don't understand. When you have a strong man in that child's life, that child fears that man more than he fears law enforcement or authority. Charles will tell you. A lot of men in authoritative position will tell you. Have a strong man in that boy's life. That boy will fear his father. Not out of, oh, I'm scared, but out of respect, out of a healthy. And see, y'all have a lot of people tell you, oh, why should that child fear his daddy? See, you fear me, but you respect me. You respect me. You respect my authority. You understand that you're protected. You're loved and you're protected. I am honor bound by blood, by virtue, to protect and die for my sons. They know there's not nothing I would not do for them. They know if their teachers say, I'm going to call your father, they will straighten up because they don't want to deal with me. I can promise you, Charles's son does not want to deal with him or any of them boys on that team. Because when they say we're going to call Charles, Mr. Faulkner, I can promise you them boys start straightening up. They say, whoa, 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 chill. Because they respect his masculine authority. And I'm going to have to do a segment on that. Is masculine authority even respected anymore? That's going to be an interesting conversation. Maybe I need to do it. Maybe somebody else needs to do it. I don't know. But I can tell y'all right now, y'all keep asking what's going to fix the community. It's not going to be money. It's not going to be a new bill. It's not going to be some kind of thing on guns. Not going to be no National Guard. It's going to be that of men actually in their proper place of authority. Well, that's all I got to say. I'm BMT. I like to thank y'all. I like to thank my honorable guest, commander of the Black Lions.
Woo! Always a pleasure, Battle Man.
Woo!
You know, keep the knives sharp, keep the guns oiled, stay
We
frosty.
got to do. We got to do that. We got to do that conversation about homeland defense, brother. We we we
Oh my
we
God!
got to talk about it. We we
See
we
you out there.
we keep skipping.
What state you in?
I'm in
State
Carolina,
you?
man. I'm in South Carolina. I know we keep skipping around, and I see a lot of guys they trying to fill in the gap and have the conversation with you. But
Oh yeah.
if you wanna have, you know what I'm saying? I know you be like, God damn it, I need to BMT. Where you at, bro? We gotta have this conversation. Like, just say the word, man. Like,
We
I'm
need to
one.
have the conversation, and one day we need to go to the range and show
Mm,
people how it's done.
mhm,
Because
mm,
I'm not afraid to. Because I bring my semi-automatic shotgun, the Mossberg, the 5.56 custom with the scope, and also the 300 get out and blackout. And
mm.
I'm trying to turn one of my rifles, my extra rifle, into a folding stock. Because that motherfucker's gonna be in my book bag. Oh, we got an active shooter. No, we don't. Let's rock. And it's funny because we're gonna have to have these questions on my show and your show where we're gonna have to ask that question that's gonna hurt a lot of men and a lot of their feelings. Are
Mm-hmm.
you capable of protecting yourself and your family? Some feelings might get hurt, man.
That's why. Listen, that was one of the most that's one of the most honorable questions I was always asked from one man to another man. Can you protect my daughter, and can you protect your family? And if you couldn't firmly, because a lot of fathers wouldn't hand you their daughters if you didn't have a rifle. You don't got no rifle. How
Nope.
you gonna protect yourself? Okay, then
Exactly.
you're ineffective. You're
Yeah.
ineffective. Somebody try to break in or come on your land.
Mhm.
So, like I said, we can have the discussion and see the same way as some of y'all can go buy video games, buy different other things, and that's fine. It doesn't take much to just invest 250, 200 to 250 or $300 in a shotgun. You can go get a nice shotgun.
Same
And,
rifle
and
slug. You can hit anything 100 meters.
right. And you can go get, and for a handgun, that's from 300 on up, depending on what you get. Now, I'll tell y'all, and Charles will tell you, stay the hell away from high points. They suck. They suck. They
High
suck.
points are like the high points are the hoopties of guns, man.
Like,
I
yeah,
mean, it's fucked up to say, but it is.
yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna tell you, if you're in the Glock 6 hour, Ruger, you're in a pretty good hands. But people might like Colt. Uh, I like Colt too, but it's too damn expensive. So,
We gotta save that conversation for the
oh yeah,
we'll say that for the later conversation. But I'm your host, BMT, along with my guest host, Commander Charles
woo!
Faulkner. Woo! We'll see you guys later. Y'all take care, guys. Stay safe. What's going to educate it? Shout out to everybody. Shout out to my mods in the chat. Thank y'all for sharing the video. I know it wasn't juicy gossip, but it was needed conversation. Peace.